Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Reddy's Reactions. Today, we'll be looking at the return of the Overwatch League. Specifically, we'll be looking at the Toronto Defiant's first two games this weekend. So, we'll start off with a brief reaction to the Overwatch League returning, and then we'll be going into a breakdown of the two games played this weekend by the Toronto Defiant. So, first, what a weekend! What a weekend for Overwatch League. There were so many storylines to follow, from the Dragons 3-0ing on one day to being 3-0 the next day, to the Valiant, unfortunately, performing exactly as everyone expected, to Houston. Man, what a game that was on Sunday against the Shock. A huge upset that no one really expected. Like, Houston's good, but it's the Shock. So definitely a lot of storylines on this weekend. It was a lot of fun to be back in the atmosphere. A lot of fun to see the games going. It's a lot of different comps. Like, every single tank was played. Every single support was played. DPS wise, there were so many different comps that we saw. So it was really an exciting weekend, and it was good to see this fluidity of teams and what what they felt they were better at, what they felt maps were better at. I mean, I actually enjoyed Goats a fair bit, but it was a little stale when you had the exact same 6 heroes on both sides every single game. I did like more at the lower level where you had the rock paper scissors of goats between Moira, Zen, and Ana. But at the Overwatch League level, they just all played the same one. So it was a little unfortunate. But this weekend was definitely not that. This weekend was unstable comps that were changing from map to map, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, so it was very exciting to see the different comps on different maps played by different teams, and they all felt unique, and they all felt like they were working better for different teams. We did see a lot of Ryan Diva when they're doing the rush comp, and then Zarya really came out when it was Ball or Winston to get the bubble for the dive. But again, a lot of different comps were used. DPS wise, we saw a lot of Tracer. We saw a lot of hit scan. A lot of Ash was used as well. But again, there were different teams that had different strengths and had different choices. And the healer line, like, again, depending on the composition, you saw Moira, Lucio, Zen, Ana, Brig, Bap. Everyone was used. So it was interesting to see that. Jake even broke his promise and played Brig. Or I wouldn't say a promise, but he had stated on stream that he would never play Brig in the Overwatch League. He played almost 5 minutes on her for the Houston Outlaws in their game against the Shock. So there was a definite variety of games, and you could definitely see that it wasn't so much whether it was the East or the West region. It was very much a team. It wasn't just one region decided this way was better. So it was good to see that. The big storyline has to be that Shock versus Houston game. Like, that's just was an insane game to watch. Shock almost coming back with the reverse sweep, but the Houston Outlaws managing to hold on. The tie on Blizzard World. Yeah. So the tie on Blizzard World was huge, again, map 6. But then full holds from the Houston Outlaw on the San Francisco Shock on the escort maps. Wow, 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 wow! The defense there was insane. They played great, and then that map 6. If you haven't seen it, stop now, skip over the next little bit because that is a thriller. But a full hold from the Shock to give them give them that hope of completing the reverse sweep, and then a fuller hold from the Outlaws to close it out in 6 games. Absolutely insane series, an insane way to finish. That was definitely the upset of the weekend. I guess any game with the San Francisco Shock losing is, but to have it in that fashion of 6 games and the Shock almost getting a reverse sweep and then being full held, even more so than they full held the Outlaws, was just insane on the last map. So well done to the Houston Outlaws. Absolutely big win for them. And it's gonna be interesting. I don't think it's gonna impact the Shock that much. I still think they're a powerhouse team. But now you have to answer is, are they as dominant as they've been for the last little bit? If they can lose the Outlaws like that. But it'll be interesting to see how team bounces back from that. That would be a one. I didn't see anything that made me think that the Shock were bad. They definitely won their first game, and they took that game to Game 6 after being down 0-2. So the fortitude to get that far, and then to do a full hold and put yourself in a prime position is really good of them. So I don't think it's going to lessen their confidence, but for the Outlaws, we'll have to see where they go with that big win going forward. So we'll go now, and we'll talk about Toronto Defiance. 2 games this weekend. So the first game was on Saturday versus the Vancouver Titans. A game that many people had Toronto Defiant winning. And luckily for us, they did end up winning. They looked really good a lot of the time. The only one that was a problem was Gibraltar, where Vancouver did pick up a map win. But outside of that, right, they sure they won 2-1 on Busan, but they did look dominant at times on that. Their control maps this weekend were really good. They know they lost the one to Atlanta Reign later on, but their control maps, they looked really good on these type of maps. Eichenwald was a big win, stopping the Vancouver Titans short of the final objective and then pushing through. And then, they came into map 3 here, up 2-0. It was looking really good. Then Gibraltar didn't go as well. Vancouver stepped up a little bit and were able to take that map. But still, still up 2-1. Still looking good. And then we came into Hanamura on the assault map. And Vancouver Titans didn't even get, the second point. So a full take on the second point. So really, really impressive series. Sato and Nice and Hisu all really impressed me. Michelle as well was doing well. Michelle impressed me a lot more on the second day. But in my opinion, Sato, Nice, and Hisu, the tank and DPS lines, Lastro was building up their ultimates extremely fast. So very impressive from everyone all around. That was a very good start It was a game that we expected to win, but those are the games you have to win. This is the one that you're expected. Because if you don't, then you start having questions. If you lose, if you win, even if you win it 3-2, people are like, oh, what's going on? So you can't. Any team can beat any team on any given day, and just because you're expected to win doesn't mean you can take it easy. So it was good to lock up that win against against the Vancouver Titans, and then go into the day two to take on the Atlanta Reign, a team that we have. It's been a little bit of a rivalry. Like, we've been facing off against them, and a lot of the series have been pretty close, and there's been a little bit of a rivalry there, which is good because you can't just have it just against the Battle of Canada for against the Vancouver Titans. So it's good to have multiple people to face against. So, like, thinking baseball, the Yankees and the Mets, but they also the Yankees and the Red Sox, right? You have these rivals that face off against each other every so often for the Subway Series, but then you also have the rivals that face each other quite often, and it seems like Atlanta and Toronto face off quite often and have in the past, or at least their games are memorable. Now, that's not to say they haven't faced off against Titans in a while, but you know what I mean? You have to have these series. There has to be storylines with each series. So it's good to have these multiple storylines going. So the Atlanta game on Sunday didn't start off well. Like I said, the control map there didn't start off the best, with Atlanta Reign going 2-0 on it. Atlanta Reign was looking very dangerous. And then we went to Blizzard World, and it was Toronto this time that wasn't able to complete the map after holding Vancouver the previous day. So, it's one of those, okay, you got to reset here. What's going on? And I don't know what was said in the little halftime between, but we came on to Dorado, as you can see in the background here, down 0-2 in a rough spot, and it just got tuned up to 11 here. Like, the defense was huge, holding them short of the objective, but they bought a lot of time on the first 2 points, especially point B and in the streets phase, that they were able to stop them before the full cap, and that set them up for a really good spot. They were mainly running this double bubble. Lastro was getting so many nanos, and the nano is so important to Winston, because then you can start cycling your alts. We get nano to get your primal. Your primal will give Lastro a lot of healing, so get his nano back, and then this is a cycle if you do it right. The Atlanta tried a couple different strats. They did eventually settle on the Diva Rhine, and we're trying to do work with that. The problem with that is that Stato was just getting a huge amount of value on the back line, especially when you got those nanos. Like, in this fight here, Lastro just ulted last fight, and he's already at 75% of his next nano. Right, so I've talked a lot about the tanks and the DPS lines putting in work, but they can't do their work without the healers, and Lastro and all their healers that weekend were on fire. They were playing great. We also did see Logics as well come in on the Saturday game. But the Toronto Defiant lineup looked really good. So we did turn it around on Dorado based off the defense and then this attack. There were some question marks about Michelle's grab use on point C on defense. And it was just they were literally Michelle was literally trying to dodge the defense matrix, and in trying to dodge the defense matrix of the diva, it just went a little high, which is unfortunate. Like, but the thought process was, I'm not gonna get eaten, and it just went a little bit high. So I understand the thought, and I understand that it just is just unlucky. Um, that's the big advantage of running the diva, is that there were a lot of eats. There was a lot of eating ultimates this weekend from the diva players. They were playing really well across multiple teams. There were a fair bit, so I definitely understand the concern. They said it in the cast. It's like, this is usually a rare thing, but we've seen it a lot already. So I do not blame Michelle at all for trying to avoid that and just having to go just a little high. Like, it is really unfortunate where it ended up. It looked like Michelle just completely whiffed, but the thought process was, again, there's a diva, there's a defense matrix. Let's go avoid that. Then we moved on to Anubis. Anubis for me was, as much as Dorado was the turning point. Obviously, you gotta get that first one to get the ball rolling on the reverse sweep. Dorado was absolutely instrumental to them getting this. Like, the confidence they built from this. They came in, like, they gave up a huge time bank on A. I think it was about 5 minutes after they got their first cap. So they came into this having to defend for a long, long time and managed to hold on to it without a full take by the Atlanta Reign. I believe they. This was a very serious. That's the thing about divas is as well. Well, there were a lot of E's. There were also a lot of staggers. Probably one of the most hilarious ones was in the Houston Outlaws shock game. They were staggering the diva. The part of that is you got to block it from shooting people. So Reiner turned his shield around, and their BAP got his head picked off by Happy on the Outlaws. It was just, it was one of those things like, yeah, they're staggering the diva, ha ha ha. And then Happy showed up and took the head off their main support. It was like, oh, we shouldn't have done that then. But yeah, Defiant on this map were really huge on defense, and that set them up for a really good attack. And they did a really good attack. They also came out of point A with a lot of time and set himself up. It took them a little bit of time to get what they needed to take point B, but they set themselves up so well. And this is what I mean. We have new comps here. We have the Brigana instead of the Merciana, because we have Sombra instead of Ash. So May was part of the rush comp a lot. It was a lot of May McCree for the rush comp. Very brawly. We also saw Hanzo May, which gave them a lot of spam damage. So there were definitely a lot of comp teams this weekend, and it was definitely interesting to see all these changes. But yeah, so Anubis was big for us, but it was really this control map. After rallying back to 2-2, that they turned Defiant absolutely shined. They absolutely popped off on this map. Especially nice on the second map on Sanctuary. But everyone here was playing really well. It felt like they just knew this map better than the Atlanta Reign and were just playing it better. The Atlanta Reign did have a footing on Sanctuary, and it looked like they were doing really well. Sato was getting a little bit of trouble, getting picked off, but then the rest of the team just picked up for him. So there was one fight on Sanctuary where Sato gets picked off first, and Nice hits a 2K on the pulse bomb and then picks up a third right afterwards. Like, just turns that fight around like that. And even here, you can see Sato gets picked off first, but the fight still goes on for so long that Sato can come back. Also on downtown, the Tracer battle between Pelican and Nice on point was great to watch. Their fights lasted like 2 to 3 minutes. Just battling each other on point. Just each one doing some damage, popping away for a bit, getting a little bit of healing, coming back in, just contesting each other on point, and really having an interesting duel. I think it's from like this point on, like from now until the end of the round, for so like 40% of the round there. Pelican and Nice battle on the Tracers, and it was going really well for the trying to find on this map. Big advantage again was last row here with the orbs. Yeah, this is where the fight started. Watching the Bobs shoot each other from across the map was also pretty funny. I mean, one Bob's not shooting the other one, but yeah, like these guys just dueled it out for so long. And you can see he backs up, gets a little bit of healing. The advantage was that Nice had the Zen to heal them, and Pelican only had the mini. That was Pelican's only way to deal with getting healed was the mini, because the rest of the team was being held back. So Michelle had a good grab there, literally just to stop the contest. I want to see if I can skip forward and find that pulse bomb. Yeah, so then we went on to Sanctuary. Like I said, Atlanta Rain did get a little bit of a foothold on the point first. But then they were trying to find were able to clutch it up. I believe Atlanta Rain did take it back near the end, but the Toronto Defiant had 3 or 4 ults, and there's that double pulse bomb we're talking about. He actually didn't get a third kill. Okay, the Pelican ran away. Okay, I knew he was going to go fight Pelican afterwards. I knew Pelican was low, but Pelican did get away. Okay, so he got the 2, but Sato went down first in that fight. So you can see Sato dies here, putting pressure on the Widow, recalls, and gets this double stick on the Sigma and the Zen, and just turns that fight around. I mean, Michelle and Lastro getting picked as well really helped a lot, but the double pick there was huge. I'm not saying the Atlanta Rain played bad. Like, you can see Kai hitting some shots. Gator was a really good main tank, and Hawk is undoubtedly a good off tank. Iris and Massa are really good support players, and Pelican again was battling Tracer the entire time. But the Toronto Defiant just really played well here, and they got a little bit of a switch around, but Bob was able to cap the point back for Toronto Defiant, and now it's just alt cycling here, right? But yeah, Sato was losing a lot of the battles at the front, but really, the Toronto Defiant as a whole played really well, and they were able to turn it around. And even if they didn't win the fights, they took so long to lose fights. So here, right, it takes so long that they still win, but they win, and Sato comes back. Like, they lose Sato at the start of the fight, and because the fight goes on for so long, Sato's able to come back and just provide the closing on that fight. So it was a really good series, really good win. The mental fortitude to come back when down 0-2 is a really good sign for the Toronto Defiant. I'm really impressed that they were able to do that, and especially to do that in the second game of the season. That's a really good sign. It's one of those ones like, okay, it's hard to it's hard to get in the right mindset after being out and do two and take a map and then take 3 maps in a row. Were pretty good. Yeah, so I think this is the fight that the Atlanta Reign win because they have ults. But as you can see, Toronto Defiant have the Pulse Bomb. I almost have Bob, and they have Trance to retake, and they're running into a rally, maybe a Pulse Bomb, or definitely a Pulse Bomb, maybe a rally. So this was the fight where I was talking about where the Toronto Defiant just had ults for the retake. There was a talk about it being a little close, but I felt confident when I saw these ults, and then Toronto Defiant just proved me right watching this fight. It was a huge get the pick on Hawk, and then what about and then you pop Trans, and then you got too much healing, right? Hisu getting picks on Pelican were huge. Hisu was taking some really big shots, which is what you need from your DPS hit scan there. So, really big series win for the Toronto Defiant. We're up 2-0 already on the season, so that's a really good start to the season and really good for the main melee to get those 2 wins to start everything off. So I'm looking forward to seeing when the next games play. We'll do a reaction again. We'll see where the Toronto Defiant keep going. Obviously, would I be happy if they win every single game? Yeah. Are they going to win every single game? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see when they face off against other teams that performed really well this weekend, or other teams that were expected to perform well and for one reason or not didn't this weekend. So it'll be interesting going forward, but the 2-0 start is really good for the Toronto Defiant and is really good for the main melee tournament. Really excited that Toronto Defiant are back. Overwatch League is back, and the Toronto Defiant start off with a huge weekend, going 2-0 with a reverse sweep against the Atlanta Reign on Sunday. Absolutely amazing to watch. On Saturday, there's also the watch party, which was a lot of fun. The hosted watch party. I believe there's always a watch party between the fans, but this was the hosted one. So really happy, and we'll be back after the next set of Toronto Defiant games. Until then, this is Captain Reddy, and this was Reddy's Reactions.